Welcome to the Module 6, Lesson 7, Debrief Answers. Our first question asks, why is it important to know all of the numbers you want to plot before partitioning the number line for a line plot? So if we look here at my line plot, it's important to know what numbers I'm going to be putting on my number line so I know how long or how short to make my number line. If I was only plotting from here to here, my number line would be a lot shorter. If I needed to extend it out even more on both sides, it gets longer and longer the more numbers I'm going to plot. So if I just drew my number line and started putting random tick marks, I wouldn't know if I'm spacing them far enough apart, if my number line is long enough. So you have to know the amount of numbers and the total numbers you want to plot on your line plot before you start making your number line. You could always run out of room, and then if you don't have enough paper at the end, you're not going to be able to draw an accurate representation of the data because they won't be evenly spaced. Now, our next question says, if Mrs. McKeever said that a line plot is similar to a picture graph, and I say that a line plot is similar to a bar graph, who is correct? Well, let's look at a picture graph first. Okay, so Mrs. McKeever says that this is similar to this. Is she correct? Well, it is similar. Each of these X's represents a straw or a certain item. Each of these hearts represents a student or an item as well. So each picture or each marking represents some data. Each of these is organized into a column. Each of these is organized into a column. There is a key that tells you what each symbol represents, and here there's a key that tells you which symbol represents. There's a title on a picture graph. There's also a title on a line graph, or a line plot. So it does seem that Mrs. McKeever is correct that there are a lot of similarities between a line plot and a picture graph. Well, but I said it's similar to a bar graph. Here's a bar graph we created last week. Now, let's compare the two. My bar graph has a title. This line plot has a title. This bar graph labels what information this is, and my line plot labels what information I have here. I've represented my data in columns. I've represented my data in columns. So the one big difference between a bar graph and a line plot is that a bar graph has two areas of information, where here I just have the one area for information, nothing coming up the side. So there is a small difference between a bar graph and a line plot, but again, there's a lot of similarities between these two. So I guess when you look at different graphs, there's a lot of similarities between a line plot, a picture graph, and a bar graph. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I'll see you tomorrow.